Okay. So now what has happened in the previous session was the first session. We had just got a feel of and also some theory regarding Spring Boot. Why should we learn? We should be learning about this particular a very nice technology, very advanced technology on a Java platform. Today, we are going to expand on our knowledge and let us see what is the benefit and how easy is to use this platform of Spring Boot, where we are going to use some higher concepts, but without knowing much, we will see the advantage. With minimum of configuration, we will be doing a lot of things, lot of complicated things. Okay, if we didn't have Spring Boot, we would have to do a lot of configuration to achieve that particular result. But here, writing very less amount of code, we are achieving the same result. Okay, that is the beauty. That is why we are learning this technology. And that is why this technology is so widely accepted. And this is also, people are looking for candidates who are good in this particular technology. So let us, I should not have started from directly a Spring Boot project, but to let you know you see the magic world. Then only when you come down to the hardcore world, you will see how difficult it is. That means after the Spring Boot, just a starter project, we will like to come to the Spring Core, IOC, inverse of control. The control part of the object has now reversed. That means it is now not with you, but with this thing. But still, with even Spring in that infrastructure, the Spring framework taking over from you, that does not also make it very easy, because you have to do a lot of configuration. So to understand how earlier we used to do, or everyone used to do the configuration, and for each and every step, you have to let the Spring framework know what is your sort of this thing, then only it will be working to start injecting the dependency. Okay. So unless you see the benefits, you will not understand the difficulties that you had faced earlier. So we are going a reverse path. We will first of all see how easily we can create a particular Spring Boot project. And we are doing a bit of complicated thing, but the same thing we are going to do in Spring Core, which is within the Spring framework, not with Spring Boot. You will see how big a configuration is. Let us start today looking at the Spring Boot. Okay, now let me understand how many of you have already installed STS4. STS4 or STS3, whatever it is. Were you having...
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you face any difficulty? I hope so, no? Because these are all open source, and you should not get any difficulty in installing.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. If you are very good, you have used already the ID of your Eclipse. It is exactly similar. Everything is similar, because it is the subset, or you can say a superset of Eclipse. But the advantage of using this STS, because there are inbuilt Spring utilities, Spring libraries, Spring objects, Spring framework. So they are already. Otherwise, if you are going to, you can also write your Spring project in Eclipse ID. But then every step you have to install those jars. You have to include those jars, and that is a bit cumbersome. You have to better use Spring Boot. I mean the STS for the Spring Boot project. That is always good. Like that day I was telling you, if you click on this new, you are not going to get Spring starter project, Spring getting started content, Spring legacy project, and then the Spring Bean configuration file, Spring Wave flow definition, all these things you are not going to get if you are using the Eclipse editor only, IDE. So therefore, you need to start with this so that your life is easy. You don't have to unnecessarily complicate when the tool is available for you to use. Okay. Let us start to see our first Spring project. I have already created this project. How do you create this as a Spring project? You have to follow this step. You have to click either a right click on this navigation bar, navigation toolbar over here, or in this package explorer on the left hand side, or you can directly go to file and say new. Then you say you want to start a Spring project as a starter project. Okay, you just click on it. And you do not need to change this one. Let this be. And here you name the project. You give a name to the project. You can give so project name should also start like the class, my Spring project. Any name that you wanted to give. Here, you use the default location of wherever the workspace is. You need not change it. Then basically this workspace comes when you have installed the STS. You must have given a particular workspace. Where is the project workspace that you wanted to design, wanted to give. So, and the type of this project is a Maven project. Of course, it's a Maven project. And then you are using a packaging which is jar packages. I'm using here Java version 11. I could have used minimum 8, not less than 8. I can also use 17, doesn't matter. Okay. And then language is Java, of course. And what I'm doing is, this is the group ID. Group ID means it is sort of a package. But in Spring, the package, like in Java, you have learned about package, haven't you? The package is the structuring, the way you store your class files, the source files, right? So that package, it is the same thing. It is in Spring, it is called the group ID. So the group ID is com.pcs global. I have given a particular package name. So whatever my source files of the Spring will start from the default, this is the package. The package starts from com.pcs global. Artifact is nothing but it is the Spring name of the project. So whatever name you have given over here, you can keep this name, and or you may want to change this. Okay, but actually this under this URL, this project will be known as my Spring project, though your actual project name is the artifact name, my Spring demo. I will always prefer you not to confuse yourself and the others. Just keep the name, the starter project name and the artifact the same. This is the convention. Don't worry about the snapshot version. This is the first version that you are doing for the Spring project. And the description, you can give anything. It's my demo or first Spring project. Okay. Any name, any description. And then this is a group ID. Group ID is the root from where it accepts. And then either you can start from this, either you can keep the artifact and the package, group ID and the package the same. That means whatever is the group ID is the package. Fine. So all your source and everything. For the time being, I would not like to go into further division of the package. Let that be in the domain of the company or of the project. Now, as we progress on Spring Boot, we will see that we will classify, we will have another, like there is your controller. There is the controller, then there is the model. So any entities, that entity classes that you design or develop, you keep under this model of the main group ID. Okay. So com.pcs global is the group ID, and I'm saying dot model is where that I'm creating a compartment. The train is com.pcs global, and one of the compartment of that train, Shatabdi Express maybe, one of the compartment is say B6. Here we are naming as model. Are you getting me? So what does that mean? That means I will keep under this particular folder, and this not package is sort of a folder, definitely. So that under that folder model, I would like to keep all my entity classes. Fine. I am organizing this. I could have another folder called DAO. So in this DAO, which is the data access objects, I will keep all my DAO layer, the classes or whatever, the repository layer. Then I could have something like controller, where I will keep all my REST APIs or the main business logic or the controller servlet files or the main Java files, which actually has the business logic, which is the controller. Okay, so this is the package. But for the time being, I'm not going to create anything like this. I'm just keeping the group ID and the package as the same. That means I'm in the root folder. I want to keep all my files, whether it's an entity file or a controller file or a model file or a DAO file or DAO program, doesn't matter. I'm not organizing them. I'm keeping in the same root package. And you don't have to do anything. You just say next. Okay. For the time being, you are not using any SQL driver because I'm just simply giving you a test of Spring Boot. We will, as we progress, we will see that these are the various dependencies. As I said, Spring Boot, you just have to mention in the restaurant, when you go to have food, you just take a menu. That menu is your dependencies. That means that restaurant is giving you all this food choice. You can pick up one of them or several of the food items that you want to eat. Right now, I'm not using any of those dependencies. I'm not asking Spring to give me all these dependencies because I'm not going to use my SQL driver as a database driver. I'm not going to use JPA, that is Java Persistence API. That means I'm not asking Spring to give me that connectivity or that how that layer of JPA, which will help me to speak to my SQL driver or anything. Or I am also not writing anything for the web development. As you see, I'm taking on, you are seeing that Spring Data JPA, MySQL driver, Spring Wake. These are the various, you see, build web, including RESTful APIs. RESTful means the REST APIs. Applications using Spring MVC. Use Apache Tomcat as the default embedded. Now, whenever we are using Spring Boot, you will see that Apache Tomcat, we don't have to mention, it is already there inbuilt. Okay, so I can use these dependencies or I might not. And here is the Spring Boot version that you are using. Then you have this developer tools. I am not going to use any tool right now. Google Cloud Platform I'm not using. Google IO, Spring IO. I'm not doing anything right now for this. And also I am not going to use any NoSQL. That is the Redis. This Redis is used in the cloud. Redis is a database. Okay. I'm not doing any reactive Redis, MongoDB, or anything, Elasticsearch. This is also a Spring concept. And then all this thing. Okay. First of all, let us not worry about anything of this. I am not going to do any injection of no object injection, dependency injection. Sir, just show it again. What is that, Deepak? Deepak, which one do I need to show? Starting from the creation of the project?
Yes, sir.
Hello, Deepak.
Yes, sir. Really interested in the class because I my hello.
Okay. Okay, I'm explaining it again.
So, please just a little.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Just little bit. You say that. No, but
Now, Deepak, in the previous session, I think you might not have attended. I am not sure. I think you haven't attended. We had a little bit of discussion on the
yes, sir.
Spring theory, Spring Boot theory, why we should be learning Spring Boot. Though, and I have also planned that even if you are not up to the level of, because you have not learned about JSP servlet, you have not completed JavaScript to get altogether, but it is not required. So I decided that why not your group also join in the Spring Boot these sessions, because that is going to help you. It is not necessary that you need to come up all this ladder. You have to cross all this ladder. You can directly start with Spring Boot because you have enough knowledge of Java that we have learned, and you have also learned a bit of JavaScript as well. JavaScript has nothing right at this time because we are working on the backend only. Spring Boot is the backend. Okay. JavaScript will only be required. A good knowledge of JavaScript will be required when we will starting on the front end, which is Angular. Now, we have discussed a bit of theory, why you should be learning Spring Boot, and the path that Spring Boot technology has traversed all these years. It has started actually from 2003. Okay. And now we are sitting on 2022. So many years have passed, almost 18 years, 18, 19 years have passed in between. So the technology has seen a lot of evolution. My approach is to give you a flavor of Spring Boot, and then I will take you back to the year 2003 through the Spring core when the Spring framework was introduced. Then you will see the hurdle. That means at that point of time when you used to do a lot of configuration, yes, you are using some Spring framework features, but actually you were at that time you were in the EJBs and the struts. For the web development, you are using struts framework. For database backend development, you are using EJBs. The J2EE, Java Enterprise application, okay, with entity Java beans, EJBs. So that was the time. And then Spring introduced the Spring framework. And at that point of time, it was only the Spring core was there, not even Spring MVC. So we will traverse all this ladder. We will traverse all this path. Otherwise, just to start with Spring Boot and only learning Spring Boot will not help you to grow your knowledge, because Spring is such a technology. It is going to stay for another 15, 20 years. So why do you need to only learn in piecemeal approach? Why to learn only a bit of here and there? You have to learn it from right from the first thread. You are using a cloth of Spring Boot, but you need to give respect to that single thread which started the entire process of Spring Boot, of Spring architecture, or Spring infrastructure, or Spring framework. Okay, so I thought maybe it is not justified that you directly start with Spring Boot unless you know the history of it and how the things actually taken that shape. Just 1 minute. And actually, this is the way to learn a technology. Those who have learned directly from the very top level, that is directly from the Spring Boot, and surely they are struggling a lot. But those who have learned from the very beginning, that is, they have learned it from the code, Spring code, with the Spring framework, with the early features of Spring, along with then Spring MVC, and then stepped into Spring Boot. That makes your knowledge complete. Okay. In doing that, what I decided that we followed this roadmap, that we will give you a flavor of the Spring Boot. So we have introduced this few slides of the PPT we have gone through, which is just, you can get the recording of it. You can just go through it. But that is just to explain the background and why we are going to learn Spring. What is the advantage? Spring is an amalgamation, or is a combination of so many projects. It has replaced a lot of things in the industry that was people were struggling, the developers were struggling with. Okay, it has made the lives of developers very easy. Very otherwise it was very nightmarish. The things, whenever we are going to learn this Spring code, you will see that how many configurations. I think many of you have done my JSP sublet classes, right? I think few of you, even the earlier batch, that is batch number 14 and 15, they have done my this thing, JSP and sublet classes. They would know that why this technology of JSP and sublet is no longer getting used. Yeah, there are many companies still using JSP sublet. It is always good to know the technology. Unless you know an older technology, will not appreciate, you will not be able to appreciate the newer one. So this JSP and servlet, in fact, servlet is the core of Spring Boot as well, today, even today. Okay, but you do not need to learn JSP and servlet to learn. You do not need to know, but it's always good to know any particular technology. In that, we have seen how much configuration that we needed to do. That what about web.xml? Though later on we have learned about the what we have learned, web servlet, isn't it? That that annotation has taken away the use of web.xml. But still, if you do not know web XML, how will you appreciate that annotation? Yes, with the introduction of that web sublet annotation, you no longer use the configuration file called web.xml. But then if you do not know web.xml, you will not be able to appreciate, you will not know how this web servlet is going to help me. Web servlet is nothing but you are doing the same thing, but now servlet is actually, that servlet engine is actually doing that work for you. You are not no longer doing the configuration in the web.xml, but someone is helping you to do that. That framework of servlet is helping you to do that. Similarly, Spring Boot is taking away all the configuration from you and doing it internally. But how it is doing it, that is the thing that we need to learn. We will introduce you to a very important concept called auto wiring. Everywhere, whenever you use Spring Boot, you will see that many places people have used auto wire. But what is this? Is this only a term, or is that come through all these steps? It started with bin factory, then gone to application context, then went to Spring container. Then you have to know singleton versus prototype. These are the design patterns. Then you have to say how you the Spring infrastructure or framework helps you to get the setter injection. Setter, you know, the getter and setter encapsulation you have learned in Java, but no longer you need to do the encapsulation on your from your side. The encapsulation will be done by the Spring core. So IOC, which will deal with the object creation and maintenance of the object, and object creation and maintenance is no longer with you. That will handle the setter and the getter by injecting. This is the dependency injection. Okay, how you do that? Then how do you refer to a reference as an attribute? The attribute can refer to a property, but how can you refer to an object? So all these things are there. Then you can inject even the constructor. That is the dependency injection. You can inject the constructor. Then you will find that you do not need to do all this hard work. Spring has come up with AutoWire. But unless and until you know all this part, will you be able to appreciate and understand AutoWire? My question to you. If you do not know the history of India, of a country like India, will you feel proud of your country? So you have to know the history properly to be patriotic, to feel good for your country, to do something for your country, because this country has given you a lot of things. Similarly, this facility, this feature of AutoWire, you can only appreciate when you see that this has traversed all this path to come to this stage of AutoWire. It has taken your headache, lots of configuration headache from your side. And Spring has taken care of all this headache from now onwards. Are you getting me? Can you respond up to this, Deepak, everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you
Yes,
understanding
sir. Yes.
why we should appreciate Spring Boot is the technology? Yes, definitely. But to understand
Yes,
the
sir.
technology, how the beauty of the technology, we have to understand the hardships it has gone through all these years, starting from 2003. Otherwise, in an interview of Spring Boot, you would be actually you can create such a good impression with your interviewer that he will be not taking your second round. He will select you directly. You will be impressed
How to,
because
sir?
you have not learned only Spring Boot. You have learned the entire history of Spring, entire Spring framework. It is under your belt. You are the master of the Spring code. I mean the Spring framework. And of course, because you understand Spring framework very well, therefore you understand Spring Boot very well. And you can adapt to the new versions of Spring Boot very well. Because you know in and out, you know the things from starting from 2003 till 2021. Okay. See, after Spring Code, we will start with Spring MVC. Then Spring MVC with Maven without Spring Boot. This is also one part. Then you will see Spring MVC with Spring Boot. Then you will learn Spring ORM. Then you will learn Spring Data JPA. These are different projects. Spring Data JPA. Then you will start learning REST APIs, the RESTful APIs. And then you will start with Spring AOP. Okay. And finally, you will go to the Spring Security, OAuth. Okay. That is the roadmap, Deepak. In doing so, what I thought, first of all, let us give you a hang of the Spring Boot, how easy, how simple it is to code in Spring Boot. Then we will see the hardships, how big configuration you needed to do earlier. Okay. So in doing so, I came to this part where I have installed Spring Tool Suite, which is from the Eclipse ID. I can you go to the marketplace and I can install this particular software, which will sit on top of ID, which is Eclipse ID, and it will give it. Hello, any question?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Anirban, you can just mute yourself if you have no questions. Okay. So in that case, I wanted to straight away start with Spring Boot project. So what I did, because I have installed Spring Tool Suite, I will get all this new things, which is not available under ID of Eclipse ID. Spring Starter project. I click on this string. I want to create a Spring project, a starter project. And this is the wizard which is going to help me, because that is coming from this ID called Spring Tool Suite. What it is doing, it is giving me the service URL. Don't worry about this. This is going to help you in actually giving you all the documentation and everything, each and everything. And then you are giving it a name. You can give it any name of the project. Let's say you are giving it my Spring project. This is the name you have given. And then you are saying that the type, this is a Maven project. I am including in this project the Maven dependencies as well. I will show you each and every step. I will show you, explain you. And the packaging, because all these Maven jars dependencies are packaged in as jar files. Then I have used Java version, JDK version 11. And the language definitely is Java, because it's a Java project. And group ID is a particular thing which is also, you can say, it's a sort of a package. In core Java, that is called a package. In Spring, you call it a group ID. And I will keep the package name. Okay. The package name and the group name for the initial, for the starting, I will package name and the group name the same. And package, in Java, the package, it is nothing but the folder structure under which you store your files, the source files. Instead of using a default package, I'm giving it default package means you are storing everything under the SRC folder of the project. No, I'm trying to group it. I'm trying to give a group ID, and the root group ID is because I'm just starting. I'm trying to get a hang of the Spring Boot project. I'm not creating any further division. I'm creating two folder, com.pcs global. This is a package. This is a group. I'm giving this artifact, and the name of the project should be the same. That is the convention. So I have given my Spring project. So that is the artifact name as well. Artifact, in any corporate organization you work in, you will be often coming across a term called project managers are saying, please give me that artifact. Please send the artifact to the client. So artifact is a nomenclature, you can say. Why artifact? Because artifact is referring to a project. And the project will have many activities. It can have classes, it will have files, it will have folders, it will have packages, it will have so many objects. So together we will not refer to anything. We will refer to as an artifact. Artifact is nothing but a project. Then you are describing You are giving a description to the project, demo Spring. And you are keeping the package right now. You are not giving any other dot something. You could have done like we will have controller files, controller Java files. Then you will like those who know JSP and servlet, you had created controller servlets, isn't it? Right? So servlets will basically are called the controller servlets. The front end controllers or the back end controllers, whatever it is, these are the controller servlets. So I can have a package as controller where I will keep all the controller Java files. Otherwise, I can create also a package called model where I will keep all the model files. Model files are nothing but the entity classes, entity beans, the Java beans. I will create and keep. The beans are nothing but which map directly with the tables in the backend, the database table. Got it? Then I can have a package with where I can organize all the DAO classes, or the DAO is the database access objects. That means these objects are the repository layer, or you can say repository. Repository.
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, what is the artifact actually? Can you
For your
explain?
knowledge, you just try to understand artifact is nothing but the project name.
Yes, okay. Project name is okay, sir. Project name is same as artifact.
Huh?
Sir, project name is same as
Project name is the name of the project and artifact is the project.
Oh.
You're giving a name
Okay,
to a
sir.
project. And what is the project? The artifact is the project. You can have artifact, the project and the project name different. Say maybe the project is the payroll project. But you have given the name of the project as My Spring project. Is it acceptable? Yes, it is fine. So by looking at the artifact, the program manager or the project manager will understand, or the customer will understand that this artifact is nothing but this is an application for, it is a payroll application. But this payroll application can have a Spring project, there can be a say, Delphi project, there can be another group working on Python project. So, but all these projects will combine into one payroll application. Are you getting me? You are doing your Spring project, which is part of this payroll application. So that application is nothing but the artifact. But because I am doing a Spring project, and so I will give the name of the project and the artifact name the same. I do not want to complicate life of myself and others. So simple. If anybody asks you what is artifact, what is the artifact with respect to a Spring project, you say it is nothing but the project or the project name. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Then there is the package repository where you keep all the repository or the DAO layer files. But now for the simplicity, I will not create any further division of the package because I want to keep everything, all the files that I will create in this project, that My Spring project, everything will be under one package called com.pcs global. So where will be com? You will see in the folder, in your file system folder, there will be a com folder. But this com folder will come under which folder?
Say project name.
the project name, or better to say, see, your project folder and the project name can be different. This project name is not my project folder. It can differ. But wherever you are creating this project in a particular folder, okay, let's say this is your project folder, but your project name is, say, Angular 10 Spring Boot CRUD. This is the project folder. But what is your project name? You see, this is my project folder. But my project name is Angular Frontend CRUD. Okay. So basically, whenever you say that I'm asking where is this package com.pcs global created, you will say, sir, it is created under the project folder. Not necessarily that the project folder and the project name be the same. But anywhere, wherever you are creating this project, you are giving this a particular folder name. That folder, under folder, you will see there is a source SRC. Under that SRC, you will see /com. And under that /com, you will see PCS Global. So these are folders, nothing but folders. But in terms of your this wizard, it is called package. And I think you have the concept of package from Java. The same
Yes,
concept.
Yes, sir.
So I will say, I want to go to the next. Then I will, for the time being, I am not creating any dependency. We will talk a lot about dependency later on. Okay, you will keep on doing that. So here right now, I am not creating any dependency. I'm not even doing any web project. Okay. So what I'm doing, I can go to the next. I've not selected anything. No dependency. Can you just make your this thing, Anirban? Mute it. Okay. Okay, you do not need to worry about all these things. I say finish. Do you see that my Spring project is the name of the project that you have given, has been created? Everyone, can you see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So just now we have created just the project structure we have created. What is the project structure? Project structure is a Spring Boot project structure. Okay. I'm a starter project. See, under the project folder, you will see a project SRC folder. This is the folder symbol. It is building the project because just now you have created a project because there are so many things that it needs to take care. Can you see that it is getting a 26% build? Because now, just now you have created a project. It is in building the Maven dependencies and this and that. By default, it's a Spring Boot project. Okay. So Maven needs to put in all those dependencies into some place. And we will see that. It is not yet created. It is 26% done only. It will take some time. It will create because that is the first Spring project. I mean that you have just now created one project. Let it be stopped. Are you able to see that import getting started, content 26% and this and
Sir.
that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let it complete. Otherwise, I will not be able
Bottom
to show you the structure
of the
of
screen.
the. I will not be able to show you the structure of the entire project. Unless you understand the structure, it will be difficult to, not difficult. You already know because you have already have developed. I mean, you were working with the Java and Java build and everything. Even people who have done JSP servlet, you know a particular structure. I don't know why my machine is a bit slow. It should not have taken that much of time. Okay, okay. It has come to 79%. Let us wait a bit. See, are you seeing download sources and Java doc on this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because you have given what? Spring.io as the services, I mean, references. So all these documents and sources are getting downloaded from the that particular URL, service URL. Basically, it is coming from that Spring official site, spring.io. First time, of course, it will take a bit of time because it is taking it is building up the project. Did you see that under the My Spring project, this is a Spring Boot project? It is mentioned directly over here because that is entirely a Spring Boot. Hello? Hello?
Got it.
Yeah. So now the thing has been completed. I will open this. Do you see that earlier we were only seeing the SRC, right? Now you are getting something more than SRC. You are getting SRC main Java. This is the folder which is the Spring Boot initial folder, under which you have, remember, we have created a package. So if somebody asks you what is the folder under which you have this package, and did you see that there is an application.java already created for you? This is basically a Spring Boot project. Okay. So first of all, remember, once you created this project, Spring Boot project, your default directory, that means src main Java, will be created. And where is this folder?
HRC.
Hmm? Now, I have created this project. I'm trying to understand the properties of this project. So what I did, I clicked on right click. I went to properties. Okay. So are you seeing that this is under my Spring project, SRC main? These are the folder structure. This is the folder structure. The main folder is the project name, my Spring project, under which there is a source folder, SRC, then there is a main, then there is a Java. So under this, there is a package, which is com/com. So Java/com, and after that /PCS global. Under this, you will see the first file. Now, where is this my Spring project getting? This is the project. Okay. So what is the path? The path is my Spring project, under which, under Debashish, GBS, Udemy, Java, full stack, Spring 5, workspace, and all these things that you have done, you have created. So this project is getting created under that. Clear? So under this, you will have src/main/java, under which you will see /com/PCS global, under which you will find the first Java file. Clear the structure? And you can create your different packages. How will you create packages? You go to this one, new, and say package. You want to create package. You can create package. And therefore you can create, suppose you want to keep the controller files. So you will say controller. So a package will be created under which all the controller files will be created. I'm not creating this. So anyway, this is the path. And what is there under SRC main resources? There is one thing called application properties. We will come to know afterwards. I'm just showing you the structure. You do not worry about the test. JRE library, system library that you have already seen in the Java, that is, these are all the libraries that is needed for your Java application. Now, this is a new thing, Maven dependencies. That has been created when you have created the project. And Maven dependencies, see, the Spring Boot has created, these are all the jar files. Now, this is not under your Java or Spring. They have been imported by Spring framework and put under this Maven dependencies folder. So you will have JSON, you will have Jupyter JUnit, the testing files. You will have log4j. Did you hear the term log4j? Whenever you are writing any logs, you do not write it on the console. Right now, what we are doing for the sake of our just immediately, like we want to see the result. What we are doing in Java, we are using system out println, isn't it? To display
Yes,
something
sir.
on the console. But actually, when you are doing some production files or you are writing an application, you do not use the console because the user is not going to do anything with the console. You have to put everything in the log file. Somebody has accessed your user table. Somebody has accessed your payroll table. All this log or whatever the application, some function it has been used. Some REST API has been used, or a new entity has been created. All this will come into a log file, and that log file will be supported, and the log file is supported by an API called log4j. Now see, I am not using log file. Doesn't mean that my Spring Boot is not ready with the feature. It has, that is why all these are the dependencies it has injected. It is ready with these dependencies. If you want to use that, please use it. You do not need to, because it has already imported these jars. These are the third party libraries. It has included that. Even if you see, it has given so many dependencies of Spring Boot. Okay. Starter login, starter test, boot test, Spring context. We will learn that. Spring core. It has already included the Spring core. What is that? Spring core, IOC. So you do not need to import this. You do not need to take the Maven repository and put it here. No need. Suppose, my question is, suppose during the project creation, if you had said that Spring, please help me with the dependency for MySQL. Okay, if you have checked that box, that you want to use database and you wanted to use JPA, then you will see that already when this project was built, the Maven dependencies will have the libraries from MySQL. That day we were discussing connector J, isn't it? The MySQL JDBC driver, connector J, that jar file will be also included. You have not included while the project, because you have just mentioned the dependency. You have gone to a restaurant. You will just mention what are the food items that you want to eat. And the restaurant owner or the restaurant will have a facility to cater to your food requirement. You are just saying that I want these dependencies. That's all. The entire object dependence injection, object creation, object maintenance, object deletion, everything will be handled by the Spring core, the Spring framework. Clear? Even now we are not using anything of, you see, I am right now, I am not doing anything which will like in JSP Sublet, we are in any web application, we are going to use what? A web server, and that is the Tomcat. Have we said that we are going to develop any web application through this Spring Boot project? Did we mention that?
Yes.
Hello?
No.
No. So are you seeing any Tomcat library? Because
No, sir.
no, because we are trying to just do a first very basic Spring Boot project where I am not going to do anything on the web. It's not a web application for Spring Boot. I am not going to do with REST APIs. Okay, I am not going to use HTTP response and request body. Therefore, I am not using any web dependency. I have not injected any web dependency. So naturally, this project, the Spring knows that this project is not going to be a web project. Clear? Is this part clear? Automatically,
Yes, sir.
otherwise the web server will be included. Whether you use Tomcat or a WebSphere or any other web server, that will be included automatically. Automatically means Spring Boot, while building this project.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, log4j.
Log4j.
Sir, what is that, sir?
Log4j is an API.
One.
We will. Yes. I have examples. We have not come to that stage, but let us gradually go there. No need to hurry. But for the timing, I can tell you that as we have seen just now, we have seen whether you have used log writing or not. An API has been included by Maven, by Spring Boot. That dependency is injected. That means if you want to use this API, go ahead, use it. This is a library. This is a jar file. And through this library, we can write directly
Yes, sir.
a log file. Instead of, remember, we are going to learn AOP, aspect-oriented programming. That day we were discussing the roadmap. The Spring AOP. Okay, the other day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In this
Yes.
AOP, we will come across this log4j. Then only you will understand. But right now, if I explain it, you will not understand. Why I
Sir,
need,
have you shared this PPT in the group, sir?
no need. You can follow this. This PPT is only useful if you follow the recordings, because in the recordings you will get this view.
Okay.
You stop it. You make your own note. So if I
Okay,
give you
okay,
ahead, before my entire course structure is done, before this, if I give you, then what will happen? You
okay,
can get confused. You will try to read through the chapters which are not yet been explained. Then you will have a lot of confusions in your mind. So no need to copy paste. I don't want you to copy paste or
okay, sir.
mug up things without understanding. You have to understand each and everything. If you want to make a note, there is enough time that you can write each and everything that is displayed on the screen. You pause your recording, write it, make your own note, give some hard labor. Don't try to copy from other work. Okay, then only you will,
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
then there is a utility. Otherwise, I can give you everything. Even I can give you all the code, but that will not help you. There is enough of material in the net. Okay, but that will finally not help you. You will
Okay,
not waste a lot of time. But finally, interviews you will not be able to crack. So
okay, sir.
during this one, when we will discuss AOP, aspect-oriented programming, and the beauty of that, you will understand why we will use Log4j, that API, to logging, but without disturbing the REST APIs or the business logic. So my REST API won't understand that there is in the background, I'm writing the logs for whichever aspects that is requiring to log that event, or logging, basically logging. In any big organization that you go, you cannot write any program without having proper log file maintained. Can you think of it? Nobody will allow you to. Just you are writing a code, there is no output. No, that means whatever each and every, because if something somewhere happens, what will you do? You have to refer to the log, because in that log file, your errors are also logged. You are not going to display everything on the console, and you are not going to write system.out.println. Not at all. Whatever you do, you have to generate a log file where you log each and everything that you wanted to display in a console. Even the error comes on the console, but you will not display anything on the console. You will display it or write it in a log file. So if there is some problem somewhere, some issue, you will refer to that log file. So that error will be there in the log file. Okay. That is how in a big organization, the people work, the IT work like this. So all the developers have to log their, as the program is running on the runtime, it will happen. There will be success, there will be failure. For failure, you have to log that error into that log file. For success, you have also to log that success or whatever the status into the log file. Everything log file. So that API is already injected into your project, but you have to use it. And how you will use it, we will learn that when we come to this fifth phase. Okay. We have not even started Spring Code. Okay. Is that clear, Jagdish? Jagdish, and that log 4J. Is Jagdish there? Oh, Jagdish went off. Okay, no problem. So let us come back to our discussion. So we were discussing about the structure. So Maven dependencies will have all the dependency injections that has already been done because of your project requirement. That you didn't mention any dependencies, but still few dependencies are already inbuilt. These are the dependencies. Okay. Then there is a SRC only, but here there is nothing. This has other utility. We will come to that. And there is under the SRC main Java, there is you will have one pom.xml. After all, this Spring project is also a Maven project, because you remember when we were creating this project, there was a Maven. Maven is a build utility. So we are using a Maven build, not a Gradle. So that's why we have mentioned Maven, right? So this is a Maven project, like here. Do you see the type? This project is of type Maven. So that everything, building, cleaning up, everything will be taken care by Maven. There is also Gradle, but we are using Maven. Okay. And in this, you will have a pom.xml file. Project object model. Project object model, POM. This is a configuration file. Did you see that it is .xml?
Yes.
So this is an XML structure. But this has been created. This has been, see, I have not done a single line of code over here. Did I do anything? This was by default created by Spring, by basically Maven, when you have created the project. Okay. See, what I have given in this, I have given that this is a Spring boot starter parent, the artifact ID. What is the group ID? See, this is the project, XML project. So sorry, this is a XML. I mean the pom.xml file. Okay, we are using a Maven version, model version 4.0, and that is the parent. These are called the tags, XML tags, the XML entities, you can say. These are the sub entities. So parent is the parent entity, and the sub entities are group ID, artifact ID, version, relative path. So the version we have selected, isn't it? We have selected Spring version 2.6.2. That is the starter project. So this is a Spring framework by ORG, Spring framework and boot. So the organization is Spring organization. Then again, there is a group ID. Did we remember that we have given the group ID as the same as the package, com.pcs global? And you have given the artifact ID,
Yes, sir.
artifact name as my Spring project. Just 1 minute. Okay. So I have given that artifact ID my Spring project, and the snapshot was this, version number was this. My Spring project was the name. The name and artifact ID was the same. I kept it. I have given that it's a demo Spring project. So all these things are coming within the XML tag. This is the description. So description becomes one tag. This name was one tag, version was another tag, artifact ID is another tag, group ID is another tag. So all these are coming under one tag of XML. These are called the properties. So property tag, you can say. Or better to say fields. If you refer to table and you refer to XML, you say that this is the table field, which is the XML tag. And that field group ID is having this value. So I can say a table having a field called group ID is having a value called com.pcs global. Am I correct? Now, these are all, see, now comes the dependencies. What is the first dependency by default? And there is one properties. Properties is, we are using Java version 11. Because this one is hard coded, right? Remember? So this becomes a property. Anything which is a sort of a variable, this java.version is the variable. Dependencies. Now dependency is the main. Okay, I can give this thing. So dependency starts from here. It has to end somewhere. Where it is ending? It is ending here. So this is the starting tag. This is the ending tag with a slash. If somebody knows XML or HTML, that will help. But under this, there is the sub item or the sub tag dependency. What is the first dependency? My first dependency, it's a Spring Boot framework. And the artifact ID is Spring Boot Starter project. Then there is another dependency. It is the starter test, because with the thing that comes with the test as well. So every project will have the main project with the test. And then that is only the two dependencies within the pom.xml. I'm not talking about the Maven dependencies. To build the entire project, Maven will have so many things. It has to have a Jakarta annotation API. It would have to have assert J core. These are also we will learn. Then the JUnit platform. JUnit is the testing platform for this starter test. Jupyter. JUnit is the Java unit testing, and the Jupyter is the engine. Log4j we have discussed, and then Mockito. Mockito is another testing jar. Either you can have JUnit or you can have Mockito. This is basically they have included all these things, testing this thing. Then you have this Snake YAML. This is also a particular naming convention. Snake YAML format, in the YAML format. You see a Spring AOP. So if I have to use log4j, Jagdish, I have to have this dependency injected, Spring AOP. We will learn that in the fifth session, sorry, not the session, the fifth topic, AOP. Then Spring Beans, Spring Boot auto-configure, Spring Boot starter, Spring Boot login, Spring Boot starter test, Spring Boot test, test on auto, Spring context. We will learn Spring context today. Spring core we will learn, Spring expression. So all these things are there. But these are Maven dependencies. But whatever is needed for the project, and you will keep on adding into that POM XML, this is the area. Okay. Is this a bit of clarity is there? Did you understand my your the how to create your Spring Starter project?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I am removing this because that
Yes,
was
sir.
just for demo.
गम रखी घर देखे केती पोक देखे बाकी से गम काढ़े बेले काम
Code was
Okay.
से रखी घर द्वार हेलानी ना बाबा गाड़ी बोले देखिए
Now,
चाली चाली
yeah, Deepak,
Hello.
Deepak.
Yes,
Please
sir.
off your mic.
So can you just mute yourself? If you're not, if you want to ask any question, you can please. Okay, thank you. Now, I will come to, I have created a project, the same project, which is a Spring Boot project for you. Now you see that it is being loaded. It is already there. Okay. So I will open this one. Okay, similar structure that we have done, but I have given here the name of the project is different. First Spring project, which is a boot project, Spring Boot project. I will go there. I have given a package name called com.example.demo. Fine. I can do that. I have given that. And I have created all the files. I have created only 3 files. And this file also I have not created. It is created by the project itself, the Spring Boot project itself. That is the first file. This and this I have added. I will tell you why. Then there is the application properties. In this, I will not have anything right now because I am not using any configuration like that. This is the configuration file. I will do some configuration over here. But right in this project, I do not need that. Clear? Testing, I will leave that. This is having a Java SE 11, standard edition 11. Fine. And there I will have all this JRE. Oh, that is the JRE. That is fine for the Java. We have a Maven dependency as well. Like similar to the project that we have created, it is having everything. Same. Clear? And in the source, it doesn't have anything SRC. It is having POM. Let me open the POM XML first. It is exactly the same. I have not written a single thing. I have not changed anything. It is the 2 dependencies that we have already done through the project. And that is the Maven plugin. This is the plugin for the building that you do not need to worry about this because whenever you compile, you have to get it built. And who is going to give the build? It will be Maven. Okay. So this is exactly the same thing. You have got the group ID, you have got the artifact ID, the description of the project. Same thing. Now let me explain. We are going to start. We have learned about all this theoretical part. Now we see an application of those theory that we have learned. We will start with a Spring Boot project. Okay. First, we have to learn about what is this. The first Spring project, this is the name of the project. Then it will be automatically appended. Application.java is automatically appended. What is that? And this is coming because I have given a package name like this. Let me open this. in a Spring Boot, as we have discussed again and again, you are not responsible for creating any object. Leave it on Spring to do that, right? Am I correct? Now, for any Spring Boot application or Spring Boot project, the first file created automatically by Spring Boot is the project name plus application.java. This is the first Java class. And do you see, it's a very familiar thing. Are you seeing? Are you seeing this? You're
Yes.
surprised. It is exactly
Yes, sir.
Java. It's a Java class. But it is the entry point for the project because it is the main method, static. You do not need any object to start with the main method. You can call the main method from outside without creating any object. That is what we have learned in Java, right? So the Spring Boot project has given you one class automatically by the name. So what is the name of the project? First Spring project. You see, First Spring project is the name. And then it has automatically added application. So it is application First Spring project application.java. And this is this is the main file through which you will execute the project. So can I say that this is a standalone Java? But this is a Spring Boot because it is not simply a Java application. Though it is having the first Java class, which is having void main, static void main. But it is not a Java, standalone Java. It is a Spring Boot app. So how do you run it? You run it as a Spring Boot application. Correct? We will not run it right now. We have to understand what we are doing. So what it is there, I have to understand this entire thing that I have written for you. I'm just giving you the flavor. It is not that I'm explaining everything because you will not understand what is this Spring Boot application. This is an annotation. You know, in Java, we have used annotation. Especially in JSP servlet, we have used so many annotation. This is the annotation used by Spring Boot which is used by Spring Boot to mark the class as executable or runnable. This is the main thread. You have understood, you have learned about threading, multi-threading in Java. This is the runnable thread. This is the main thread because it is the main method. So from here, you are doing so many things. Maybe not many things, but here. So this is an annotation. Let us go through this. What is that? Spring Boot introduces the annotation Spring Boot application. You see, this is coming from the Spring framework. Boot, auto configure, Spring Boot application. What is that? Indicates a configuration class that declares one or more bean methods and also triggers auto configuration and component scanning. Everything now we have learned about objects in Java. Correct? Are you getting
Yes,
any?
sir.
We have learned anything is a Java object in Java terminology. Now onwards, we are going to use more than objects. We are going to use components. There is a basic difference between component and an object. A simple object cannot be injected into another object. But an object, when it is annotated as a component, it can be, it can talk. Basically, one object or one component talking to the other component or multiple components. Does that sound any sense to you? Objects can only be injectable to another object whenever that object is a component. So component can be injected to another component. So I want to inject, that is called the dependency injection, IOC. Anyway, the Spring Boot has a dependency injection through some Spring Core technology, through which it can inject one component into the other. See, your headache has become so less. Earlier, you have to write a big program to call a class from another class, right? Because you have to create an object of that class, then you have to import the package and also do so many things. And even then, thereafter, you will not get the entire flavor. It is calling a class like that is time taking and it is resource intensive. But if you use that as a component injection, that becomes your life easier, your code smaller, and maintenance faster, performance faster, maintenance easier. Because the maintenance nowadays is all, you are not going to take care of the maintenance of the components. Everything will be taken care by the Spring Boot or the Spring Framework. Clear? So this particular annotation, what it is saying, Spring Boot introduces the annotation Spring Boot application annotation. What it does, this single annotation is equivalent to using another configuration annotation, enable auto configuration annotation, and component scan annotation. So again, this configuration annotation, enable auto configuration, and component scan, these were the annotations. So this was again taken care by the Spring Framework. If they were not there, these annotations were not there, then you have to write a lot of you have to do a lot of configuration. You have to do a lot of automation of the configuration. You have to do a lot of scanning of the components, which is there in the container. It is not automatically done. But with the annotations, you can do this component scan. That means the Spring Framework will take care of this. You don't have to write code, or you don't have to write or do the large configuration. Like, remember the annotation web servlet. If anybody is remembering that web servlet annotation, whoever has done the servlet, JSP servlet, you will remember that the web servlet annotation has taken away the use of web.xml. Otherwise, you have to write so many things under web.xml. So people who have who had done sessions with me on JSP servlet, can you respond that whether that is true?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So is it Kundan?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So Kundan, you remember that we had discussed an annotation called at the rate with WEB, W is capital, servlet, S is capital. With that, you have taken away all the necessities of writing a big web.xml configuration file. You give certain properties, certain values within that web servlet, and your work is done. Similarly, this at configuration will take away the headache of this. This annotation will take away the headache of doing your file-wise configuration in a file. We will understand what the configuration is when we come to the core, this core Spring Core. But right now we are doing Spring Boot to understand that our headache has become so less. Now, even after this was done, it has come up with Spring Boot application annotation, which has replaced all the three of it. So component scanning, auto configuration, and the big configuration, everything has been taken out by a simple and straightforward Spring Boot application annotation. As a result, when we run this Spring Boot application, it will automatically scan the components in the current package and its sub packages. That means there could be this under these packages, you have, maybe I do not have gone through Alien and the laptop, but these are various resources, various sources, isn't it? Java resources. Now, this could have been in a separate sub package or in the main package. Whatever the current package and its sub packages, all these are components. These are now not only Java objects, these are components. We will see that. And so that components scanning and everything will be done by this annotation. And also the configuration part will be taken care and auto configuration. Thus, it will register them in the Spring's application context. We will learn what is that context and allow us to inject beans into AutoWire. AutoWire is the last topic because this AutoWire, see, AutoWire came where? Auto-wiring. Oh, okay. Here. You see, auto-wiring, I will come only after going through all this knowledge. Okay. So it is not that I will jump into learning AutoWire. Yes, in this, I'm going to use AutoWire just to show you that how things are made so easy in Spring Boot. Any question up to this? So remember, this first application, the application.java, the project name application.java has been created by the project itself, the Spring Boot project itself. And this annotation, see, did I write in a single line? Yes, this is already done by me, but I can guarantee you this I have not written. This annotation I have not written. This class statement I have not written. This one I have not written. This I have not written. This, yes, I am writing this from here onwards. But up to this part and this has been given by the Spring Boot whenever I was creating this project. Okay. So up to this.
Sir,
Now
hello.
this, sorry.
Sir, annotation means, sir?
Annotation, I will leave it on you.
Yes, sir.
Annotation is sort of a reference that you are taking. So whenever you say at, what are you doing? What are you doing? You are basically calling a Spring Boot application, a source code which is inbuilt within Spring Boot. Spring Boot has given the Spring
Yes,
Boot
sir.
Java. So basically, with this annotation, with this at the rate, and give the name of that annotation. That means you are calling a Java, a Spring Boot Java class, and these are all the all which are which has replaced the Spring Boot application. One annotation has replaced so many annotations. You see, component scan. This is what we have referred here. It has replaced the component scan. So basically
Yes,
annotation,
sir.
you are calling, this is a program. The program name is Java. It's like you write a Java code. Similarly, Spring Boot
Yes,
application
sir.
has already written a code for you to help you. You do not need to do all this. So this indicates configuration class. Class means what? It's a Java class. It has created already for you. And through this annotation, you are referring to this class. That's all. Basically, you are calling. Can you not call a class from another class? That is what you are
Yes,
doing.
sir. We call in Java, sir. Yes.
Yeah, and this annotation, this class is already available with Spring Boot. It is going to help you such that you do not need to do yourself a configuration. You do not need to do auto configuration. You do not need to do component scan. And it is replacing so many other. You can see it has replaced another annotation called target. It has given you to replace Spring Boot configuration, enable auto configuration. Yes, enable auto configuration I have mentioned here. I cannot mention everything, but whatever
Yes, sir.
important things like component scan. Otherwise, you had to scan
Component scan,
individually
yes,
all
sir.
the components in that package or sub packages. Then the retention annotation, documented, inherited, all these things are replaced by one single annotation. That means annotation means you are calling a Java class which is giving you all these features. You do not need to do anything. All the configuration part, leave it
Okay,
on the
sir.
Spring Boot. That is what we were discussing the earlier day.
Eh,
So the headache of you doing configuration yourself has been taken out by Spring Boot application, that annotation. And what I'm annotating to? I'm annotating this class. And that is the main class. That is the entry point. When we execute, we will run this. What we will run this? We will run this application, this Java file. We are going to run this Java file because this has a main method. And aided by this annotation, it will not need your any configuration at all. Otherwise, you will see how much configuration you need to do. That we will see in the next session when we start learning Spring Core. Clear? Up to this, any questions? Annotation for the time being, you just understand that it is nothing but you are calling another Java class. And that Java class is given by Spring Boot, and that actually takes your headache of configuration, doing configuration. Why configuration? We will come to know right now. Here in this Java class, this Spring Boot has given me an application context. This is another class, application context. Okay. And I was saying that this is the main thread. So what is the thread? If you have seen, if you have checked that the thread has a run method, because this is a runnable thread. So this is the main thread. And what it is doing, the Spring application is a class given by Spring Framework Boot, that it is giving a class. You are using that class to expose a run method, because this run method is part of that class. If you open the declaration, you will see that Spring application is a class given by, see, I have not done it. Nobody has done it. It is given by the Spring Boot. So it's copyright by original authors of Spring Boot. This is a licensed one. So Spring Boot framework has given this particular class called Spring application. And under this Spring application, you have this run method. Run the Spring application. Are you seeing that? Creating and refreshing a new, whatever this, application context. So this is the context of the application. And these are the concepts that you have to grow. That first of all, whenever you are creating a Spring Boot project, this one will be automatically created for you up to this. So it will give you the context of the application, and you are creating this object, and this is just any name. You can give anything. You could have given CTX context, any name. This is the name of that object. Object of type application context. And application context is an interface. You can see that this is an interface. You are referring to this interface. By any interface, can you create any object from an interface?
No.
No. So therefore, you need some class which will implement the interface. Like in Java, you have learned, you can have a class which can implement an interface. You cannot extend an interface. Implement. So this Spring application, which is another class, will implement the application context and its run method. So with this run method, you are running the what? This class. What is this class? This is nothing but this class. So it is like you are saying that you are starting up your engine by yourself. A car is there, a car. This is a car application. Okay, a car. It is standing in the garage. If you do not start the engine, will the car start running itself?
No, sir.
Okay, so you have used the static void main because you can directly, this is the starting point, this is the execution point. And within that, you are using the run method of the application, string application class. And you are starting up which class? Your own class, from where you have originated. You are starting your own engine, because nobody else is going to start up your engine. That is the beauty. It has done everything for you. And it is in a running state. You just have to run it. How do you run it? You just say run as Spring Boot app. That's all. Everything I will take care. The configuration and this. Under this, what I'm trying to do is that, so you have already registered in the application context. So you have registered and loaded a application context object through this class. And now you are using this CTX. Okay. Let me go back to the context. Okay. Otherwise, I have to change places. So I'm using this object. Okay. This is the normal way. But under Spring, we should not create the object ourselves. This is the normal way. So Spring has given you the context. Did you create this context object? No. Spring has already given this line to you. As I'm saying again and again, I have not written this line. When I have created this project, this line, everything came, even with this annotation, came to me. I have just given these comments. The run method gives the application. This I have given the comment. That's fine. But this I have not. So this is the normal way of creating an object. But under Spring, we should not create object ourselves. We should ask Spring to create and destroy or maintain the object, right? So the below should not work. If I try to do this, will it work?
No, sir.
Even if it works, I will not do this. because this is the Java way. This is Java way of creating object, but objects, but we are in Spring Boot. We should not create any object. Is this point clear? This is a very vital point. If you do this mistake, then even if you are using a very new technology, but you are using a very old engine of your knowledge. If you're using a new technology, your knowledge should be also a new. Your knowledge should also cater to that particular technology. You cannot use Java way of creating object in a Spring Boot project. Correct? So this is very important for you to understand. This is a Java way of creating object. What we will do? Again, we need to understand this part. We are using the context that has been given by Spring Boot through the application context interface, through the Spring application class. That this context you are going to use to get, not to create. That is the difference. You get the bean. You get the bean. Bean is a entity class or entity or bean class. What is entity class? Entity and bean are the same. So what if I ask what is entity or bean? You will say, sir, it is encapsulation. A class having getters and setters.
Yes, sir.
By the Java knowledge, whatever we learned about in Java, that in encapsulation, we use the entity classes, because entity classes, we set the properties with the setter and the getter methods. But here we are not doing any entity class. We are not creating any entity class. What we are creating? We are creating components. And those components are held into a Java, see, after all, this is a Java. The platform is Java. And the technology is Spring Boot. Correct? You agree?
Yes, sir.
So who is driving the Java? What is the Java engine? Spring Boot is sitting on top of the Java engine. But underlying is the Java runtime engine, isn't it? JRE. Here you have the JRE. These are all Java libraries. So the engine is Java, JRE. What is the engine name? We have learned in the very initial class of Java session. Did you heard the term JVM? That is the Java engine.
Java virtual machine.
Java virtual engine or machine. Okay. So that Java virtual machine is that engine which has a container. You can say that is a Java container, or you can say that is the Spring Boot container, because we are having a Spring Boot on top of that Java engine, JVM. And that Spring Boot container has nothing else. It has configured that container. Spring Boot has himself, like you have this configuration or enable auto configuration and the components, the Spring Boot application. Now Spring Boot application has taken away you do not need to configure that container. Spring Boot is available with that container. It has configured you. What does that container has? Container means it is a place which will hold something, isn't it? Think simply in the real life term. Container is like a bucket. It is storing water. Then it is a water bucket. If it is storing oil, then it is an oil bucket. What
Oil
is
bucket.
this? What is this Spring Boot container containing? Anyone? Try to think. It must contain
Objects, sir.
objects. Very good. Who said?
I sir, Devajit.
Devojit. Very good. And yes, you are very correct. But we will refine a bit. We will say that that container now contains, instead of objects, components. It is better to say components because we are no longer in Java.
Okay.
We have moved a step ahead. We are now using a technology called Spring Boot, which is also providing a container, but that container is configured by Spring Boot having components. So it can scan the component itself. It is a component scanner. It is a auto configuration enabler. It is also a configuration partner. It configures that container and replacing everything by a Spring Boot application Java file, that class. But what it is getting, it is configuring that container for the components. And therefore, you do not need to worry. You just have to mention what is that component that you are going to pick up. You are not going to create. You are going to get that bin or the entity or that component. Okay. So many things. We are learning so many new things. One is the entity. The same is entity is nothing but the bin, and the bin is nothing but basically if you have converted that into a component by some annotation. We will do some annotation there as well, such that this object, which is a what is encapsulated object, encapsulation done on this object. Now this object is an object, but now it is converted to a component by the component annotation. We will see the align. So align is a component. It is no longer an object. After all, it is a class. So I'm using from that context object, I'm using a function called getBin. Okay, because I am not supposed to create object. I am not supposed to do this. I am supposed to only pick up. I just have to mention which bin or which component or which entity I want to pick up from that container. That container which is maintained and configured by Spring Boot application. Is this up to this part? Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Very clear. If that is
Yes,
clear,
sir.
then before coming to this obj.code, now I have created this object. I have not created. The Spring Boot has helped me to pick up this object and put it under, assigned it to a obj, a variable which is of type alien. Alien is an object or a class. Now let us go and check alien. I have created this alien. That is, you have created this alien object or a class. But at the same time, and what is the package? This alien appears in com example demo that you already know. It is from Java because this is the package where alien, you will find alien.java. Now this class alien is also, I'm giving an annotation here. Again, this is an annotation. Okay. So it is no longer an object because object cannot be injected. I cannot have a dependency injection with objects only. I have to create them as a component. And this concept is going to help you to understand when you are going to use the components in Angular. See, every technology is related to each and every one. The technology wise, the concept wise, everything is same. Object, whether it's a C++ object or a Java object or a Python object or a JavaScript object, doesn't matter. It's still an object. The properties and definition of an object remains the same. So a component, whether it's a Spring Boot component or an Angular component or a JavaScript component or a Java component, Python component, doesn't matter. It is still a component by its nature and its attributes. So I'm creating a class align. What it is doing? Align is, again, we are coming to a very important term called auto-add, a laptop class. I mean, I'm coming to that. But this align class is having one method called code. And then it is calling a compile method of lap, which is laptop. See now, did I create laptop object over here?
No, sir.
This is a component. So I can inject, this is called the point of injection or instantiation. Instantiation means you are creating that object by the name LAP, small LAP. But what is the class or what is the object? It is the laptop. But how do you do this definition? Can you do in Java this way? You can do it only in Spring Boot.
No.
Because you have used another annotation called auto-add. Why? What is this? This is a dependency injection. So this class align is dependent on the laptop because it is calling the compile method of laptop. So what it has done, you have injected laptop into align. So do you think that laptop should also be a component, not an object? Do you think so? If
Yes,
you
sir.
think so, huh?
Yes, sir. It is also a component.
It has to be a component. And you are correct. If I go to laptop, I will see that this laptop is also a component. Therefore, it is a simple class. You see, it's a laptop class. What you are doing, you are declaring that this is a package, it is appearing here. And you are importing this component. Whenever you write this component, it will automatically import from this particular package. Now this laptop is a simple laptop. I have a one function within that. It is called compile, and I'm giving a system out print line that I'm compiling inside laptop compile method, laptop compile method. Okay. So the compile is a method within laptop, but then I'm calling this method from align by auto-wearing laptop here. Now, what is auto-wear, this and that? This we will understand but by steps. I don't want to understand right now. Just what I understand, because I will go through all these steps. Okay. Then only we will come to auto-wear. Then we will understand it very clearly, but not now. But maybe right now I want to say that auto-wear is nothing but this is the dependency injection. What is the dependency? Dependency is the laptop. Who was dependent on laptop? Align was dependent on laptop. Align is a person. He is having a laptop, but laptop has its own properties and methods or whatever. Okay. But I want to get that laptop injected over here because I want to use the method over here in align. Because again, align is an object which has been created in this class. So see the relation. Align is getting picked up. Okay. Now, whenever you are defining this align as a component, where does it go? Does it go to the memory directly? No. The memory management and everything will be done by the Spring Boot. So it will do what? Whenever this component has been created or you have defined it, it will just put that component into that container, that Spring Boot container. And it will not load it into the memory unless it is called for. That is the beauty. See, in Java, when you created the object will be directly created in the memory. And whether you use the object or maybe you have used 5 minutes back, but in this 5 minutes you have not used it, at that the entire time this object was lying in the memory and occupying a memory space. That is not desirable, because unnecessarily you are clogging the memory space. That is very bad. Are you getting me? What I'm trying to arrive at? Why Spring Boot is so important for us? Because the memory management and everything will be configured or will be managed by Spring Boot. So why to worry? So this lab and this laptop is a component. This align is a component. They are lying in the container. But unless you call this object, you are getting this object from that container, you are not using it. Now, since you have called it and you have used it, you have called it also, it is not going to go into the memory. But once you use it, then it will be going to the memory. And once you are out of this program, your this object will be destroyed from the memory. See the beauty of it. Are you doing any garbage collection program that you have to destroy this object after your program, before the program runs in the finally section? No, you are not doing. And also, can you see that this is a POJO, plain old Java object? That is, this sort of things you can easily understand. Servlets, you are getting a bit difficulty in understanding, right? Those who have done JSP servlet, in servlet, to understand how a servlet calls another servlet is getting a bit complicated, wasn't it? I was initially, when I learned servlets, I was finding it very difficult to pass on one argument from one servlet to the other, or one parameter from one servlet to the other, or calling one servlet from the other servlet. So that dispatcher, this was getting a bit complicated for me. But here, as I step into Spring Boot, I see, this is a plain old Java object. This is POJO. And I'm very happy that I can see POJO back again in our lives. Because I understand this public static void main. I understand how to build a Java object. So then I become happy, because these are nothing but very plain, whatever we have learned in Java, those classes. Are you getting me? So this,
How did I get this is POJO?
This is plain old Java object. I mean, the class is nothing but class. Through class, you can create an object. So I'm using this class to create whatever the object, or pick up an object, because now we are in Spring Boot and we're using that object. This is also a class. So it can, so basically whenever you are using this align, this becomes an object of type align. Align is a class. this obj becomes an object of type align. So this lab becomes an object of type laptop. So these are plain old Java objects. This is how we have learned Java in the first classes, right? You say public class, some class name. Then you say public static void main string, whatever. Then you write some code. So can you not say this is the old Java objects that we have learned? Okay.
Yes, sir.
What is lab over here, sir? Yes, I'm coming to that. Oh, it is already 6:15. Can you give me 10 minutes time? Yes. I'm coming to that. Now, did you understand align? Okay, first of all, let me go to laptop. Laptop is one simple class, like a Pojo class. Okay, I am saying public class laptop. Yes, I have given this annotation such that this class becomes a component. I'm calling this annotation. Okay, basically I'm calling this component, and this is available in this package of Spring Boot. So I'm calling this component. You are importing it, and this component will make this laptop a component. It will no longer be an ordinary object. And within that laptop, I have created one method, and within that method, this is the output that I'm trying to print on the console. Fine. Is there any complication? There is no complication here. So remember that only thing that I have made this a component. Fine. Then I come to align. Now align is also a component. It's a class. It's a component. But align wants to use the function laptop, function compile, which is under the object laptop or component laptop. So what will it do? It will simply say that since I'm using I'm using Spring Boot, I'm directly weaving that. Weaving means injecting. I'm injecting what? I'm injecting this component into this component because I am dependent on this component. Because unless I inject this component into myself, I will not be I will not be allowed to use the services. If I had not given this command, first of all, I am doing a laptop lab because I'm calling this, I'm creating this object, not creating, I'm just using this. I'm defining a variable called lab, which is of type laptop. That I can do. But that will not help me because because this is a component and this is a component, I have to inject this, otherwise I will not be able to use that. That is the beauty. That I am picking up the laptop from where? From the get bin. I'm using actually inertly I'm using the get bin. But I'm not using the get bin directly because I'm using AutoWare. So AutoWare will fetch that laptop component, inject the component into align. And once this is injected, I can use the method compile. So I am using a method from align. I'm creating this method code, and within that code, I'm asking the compile method of lab. Lab is the object or the component, you can see, of type laptop, because lab is itself a component. Okay, is this part clear? Any doubt?
Yes, sir.
See, it's very simple if you think simply. Don't try to understand what is auto wearing. Just for the time being, you say auto wearing is a mechanism through which Spring Boot can inject one component into another component. Because this component, Align, wanted to take the help of the method compile. It wants to use the method compile from here. So it's simply what it did, it injected into itself, auto-wired into itself another component which had this service. Laptop will have the service of compile or a function. And finally here you are using, this is the object or component of type align, isn't it? Because you have picked up this from the Spring container using the context, Spring context. You have picked up this align class. And in that align class of that obj, you are calling a code. You cannot call directly what? Can you call directly compile? Because compile is a method within laptop. You cannot directly call. But what you are calling the code. Now this code is a property or method property of align. Simple thing. This code belongs to align. This compile is a property of laptop. So if you have understood this, let me see how many you are writing. How many? 1, 2, 3 lines of code in the main program. 3 lines of code. 1, 2, 3. In Align, you are writing how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lines of code. And in laptop, you are writing 1, 2, 3. 3 lines of code. So understand, you are doing a lot of things. You have done a lot of things. Basically, from this class, you are calling another class. And from that another class, you are calling a method which is in a different class. So to do that in plain Java will be difficult. But in Spring Boot, you have just given entire configuration onto this Spring Boot application. Or better to say, Spring Boot. So can I run this and to see what is happening? I will run this as what? Spring Boot app.
Spring.
Do you see one thing? The Spring has started version 2.5.3. That is the Spring Boot version that you are using, right? Then it is saying that this application has starting first Spring project application using Java 16 on this laptop with a PID. PID is the process identification number. And this is the entire path. See, this project has been created under Spring 5 training, first Spring project folder. Now, so it is using a default profile and started this application in this many seconds. And what is the output? Compiling inside laptop compile method. Are you getting me? Is it okay? So you are calling this code of obj. Obj is nothing but align. So go to align. You are calling this code. It is calling lap compile. And lab compile has been auto-wired. Therefore, it can go and use the compile. So therefore, it is saying compiling inside laptop compile method. Is that correct? Simple example, just to show you the power of Spring Boot. So many things, you didn't need to do anything. Now the question was whether I can directly call compile. Are you seeing that you are getting an error? The method compile is undefined for the type align. Because this is OBJ's type align and align doesn't have compile method. Who has the compile method? The laptop has the compile method, right? So did you understand this project? First simple project on Spring Boot. Any issues?
Yes, sir.
You have issues? What I did was from align, I have taken out that auto wired. I've remarked that. What it is saying that it is calling that compile, but it is not finding it. So it is finding null pointer exception, cannot invoke compile because it is not getting this lap. Yeah, it is trying to get that, but this is not injected. That's why it is not finding it. It is getting an error because this lap is null. This lap is null. You have declared only, you have not defined. How will you define it? You have to inject it with the entire class. Then only it is defined. You are getting the beauty of it. Any answers? I think if I'm not getting any response, that means you have understood it clearly or you have not understood anything of it. Which one is true? Hello? Hello? Anirban?
Sir, this, sir, yes, sir.
Sir, I can understand.
I have not understood as well, sir.
Understood, sir.
Huh. No, it is not. You will gradually understand, Anirban. You have to try from your side as well. So what you do, you take the recording today,
Yes.
do all this part.
Hmm.
You create a project. You will see that these things are already done for you. You have to write the same way that I have written. You create align object. You create laptop object, and then try to run this. Then only you will understand a bit of
Okay,
it.
sir.
Try to go through the recording
Yes.
again
Okay.
because I don't think that should be any big problem.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay. Because I thought you already learned Spring Boot. You said that you already know Spring
No,
Boot.
I learned, but yes, sir, no, but some concepts are not still clear. Some concepts, sir.
Sir, how to create class?
How to create class? Okay, good question.
Yeah.
See, you go to any project. Like this is my project. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what I do, first of all, I will stop. I will not stop the sharing. I will stop the recording. Okay. I will stop